Yes, I. Selassie I. Kadam Highway, Baba Janoi. Welcome to Babylon Makes the Rules. We got a special guest here today. Mr. Amadu Ali Nabe from Guinea. He's a Mandela Washington Fellow that happens to be here in Des Moines. And we're going to have a conversation with Mr. Nabe. Say hello, Mr. Nabe.
Good morning, good morning. It's nice to be around here. Talk to you all.
Man, wonderful. Man, this is a really a great opportunity for me, and I hope so for you. But for me, it's really a great opportunity to converse with a young man who is a businessman, a mover and a shaker. Yeah, a mover and a shaker in Guinea, and as well as in Dakar, right?
Yeah, that's where I live.
Oh, he lives in Dakar, Senegal. Well, man, introduce yourself and tell us something about you, sir.
So my name is Nabe Amadu Ali. I'm from the Republic of Guinea, and I got selected as a Mandela Washington Fellowship because I'm a business development consultant. And just a little bit about my background, educational background first. I'm a trained economist from the University of Hokkaido in Japan. And I have a bachelor degree in business administration from my country, University of Kofi Annan of Guinea. So I got a scholarship in 2017 to go to Japan and study. So I was already working, so everything was set. Unusual for some people to take I quit my job, I'm going back to school. So I quit my job and when I got training in economics, and I started working with startups back in Japan, and we worked on 2 startups. And after a while, I came back home, and then I went to Dakar and I started working with this water and technology company. It's a consultancy firm, and I started learning about the business of sustainable development business, environmental, water, sanitation, and stuff like that. So I got very interested in that. And the funny thing is that after working with them for almost a year, I started thinking, okay, maybe I can try to do something that allows us to create more impact with the knowledge we have and build startups related to that. So currently what I'm working on is how to build a kind of startup sustainable system. That is, we create an ecosystem where innovation can thrive, which is something we lack back home. So one of the core projects I'm working on has to do with toilets. So that business, I like to call it the easy term, it's shit business. So we're trying to make sure that we can end open defecation in Africa, especially in the Senegal, Guinea, and Mali, where I have ancestral relationship with. And I know the people, I know the country. So we're trying to do something there. So that's the reason why I came to the Mandela Washington Fellowship, to create connections with people who wanted to invest or work with us to solve the problem of waste management, fecal sludge management in Africa. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
That's wonderful. You know, you've been here how many weeks now?
5 weeks. 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
5 weeks, yeah.
And the total time you're going to be here is how many?
I still got 1 week left in Des Moines, and then I'll be going to Arizona for a professional development experience where I'll be working with the city of Phoenix in the water service department as an asset management analyst. So that's what I'll be doing for 1 extra month in Phoenix, Arizona, to learn about all the water system, treatment system in Arizona. You know, they have one of the most efficient water treatment facility in the whole of the U.S.
Yeah. For a fact.
Yeah.
I know I went to college down in that region. Country. I was in New Mexico, neighboring state, and looking at the desert.
Yeah.
Because they don't. What constitutes a desert? Any region of the world where it's less than 10 inches of annual rainfall, you have a desert. And so you have to definitely understand how to maintain the flow of water.
100%, and it's very efficient because it actually helps us to solve some SDG goals and reduce the pressure on water utilities, because the water is recycled and can be used for different stuff. Because one of the things I learned that the city of Phoenix uses the water for is to all this big generators that provides electricity and stuff for the cooling system.
Yes.
So those waters that have already been used from our drainage system can actually be used for that instead of using potable water or water that could be used for something else. So that's actually very efficient, and I love that. So I want to learn that for us and take it back home. That idea. You need to come get the right things here, like help contribute to something back home. That's what we're doing.
That's wonderful. Looking at the infrastructure of Senegal in comparison to the infrastructure of the U.S., what major differences do you see?
So basically, Senegal is not really bad. You understand? Because I see that people think that we live in jungles back home.
Well, tell the truth. Tell them.
We're not living in jungles. You find one of the most brilliant people in Guinea and Senegal. I'm in between those two countries. In one of the countries I live there, I've got ancestral origins to that. My great grandmother is from Senegal. Yeah, she died many years ago, but she's from Senegal, and she told us that she's from Nioro in Senegal. And my parents and the nationality I currently hold is that of Guinea. So when you look at the infrastructure different, the difference is that America is 200 years old. So it's been building infrastructures for a long array of years. And that development, you see the difference. And in terms of technology and innovation, they've been able to create the best society for themselves. So we are new. Senegal was independent on the 4th of April, 1960. So that's less than, let's say, 60 years, if I'm not wrong.
62.
62 years
63.
Old. Yeah. So Senegal is a very young nation.
Yes.
Guinea is 65. So that's all young nations. And as young nations, we're catching up. We started from zero. We started from nothing. By the time colonization was ending, there was really nothing. In Guinea, for example, there was less than 4,000 university graduates when we got independence in 1958. So we had to build everything, schools, resources, roads, and open up our country and integrate. So compared to the U.S., it's a very big difference. U.S. is a world power, and we are developing countries. We're catching up. So give us some years, give us some time. We'll be there.
I believe you.
We already got the brains. We all got the mind. We know what we want. And
Absolutely.
we're gonna get there. So we have to. We are not gonna rush it because we want to go fast, but we want to do it right.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I came to find out geographically, the continent of Africa is over 11,890,000+ kilometers.
Yeah, it's a big.
Very gigantic, and only 10% of the continent is jungle. 10% of the continent is jungle, but in the mindset of most Americans, because of what the media has put in the minds of people, is that everybody in Africa is in the jungle.
Yeah. When the lion doesn't tell its own story, the story of the hunter will always prime. You understand? So basically, we have to tell the story, and opportunities like this is a way to tell the story. For example, you asking me if I've seen lion. Yeah, I've seen it on TV. Yeah. Have you seen snakes? Yeah, I've seen snakes. For example, I was working in the mine. I've seen snakes in the wild, but that's normal because I went to their habitat.
Yes.
But I don't live next door to a snake. Snake is not my neighbor. The lion is not my neighbor. The elephant is not my neighbor. So I think that it's for us Africans, through the black diaspora, through the African Americans who have gone to Africa, through everybody who has gone to change that narrative. It can be a one single sided. That's what I was telling you. When people came as researchers in Africa back in the period of colonization, they visit one place and they tend to say, this is Africa.
Yes.
So that narrative of generalization has gone very fast. Let me just give you an example.
Go ahead.
I won't mention the institution. I went to a place recently. All the things that was there that came from other countries was mentioned. You hear, oh, this is from Australia, this is from Japan, this is from China. When it came to Africa, and I asked, where's this country from? She said, I don't know. I said, you telling me you don't know where it comes from when it's Africa? But do you know Africa is a continent? And the continent is bigger than America. But you don't know what you got that you call priceless. You see that point there? You call something priceless, but you don't know where it really comes from. So you see, that's the conflicting narrative that I have. So it's for us now to educate people. Africa is 54 countries. If you ask some people, 55. Just trying to be politically correct.
Because of island or something.
No. There are some countries where somebody doesn't recognize one country.
So
54 countries, and if you ask some people, 55. We'll just keep it that way.
Okay.
And you don't know where you get your stuff from. So every African country is unique in its own sense. You see a Nigerian, we might have similarities, just like every people who live close to each other. They have similarity. But there are little differences. So Africa is not a country. It is a continent with each geographical location having its own history, its own success story that cannot be generalized. So we should be able to get the reflections of all of this. You go to some part of Africa, you'll see people that looks more Indian.
Yeah, on the east
side of Africa. You go to some part of Africa, they look more Arab. They're Africans. You go down, you see a mixage of people which you cannot really put in one single box. So trying to put all these people in a single box, they have their different struggles and everything. That's just doesn't make sense.
So true, man. You know, when you brought up about colonization in 1884, 1885 was a scramble for Africa and the partitioning of Africa. And Europeans cut...
Africa was a Christmas cake.
That's it. They cut it up in
because,
pieces.
I think the guy was a German chancellor, Van Bismarck.
Yes, it was him.
Yeah. So it happened on a Christmas day. So they had no cake to cut on that day. So they said, okay, we cut in Africa the cake. So you check the borders. Okay. Now I'll give you put it in some context. You go to Europe, you see all those funny borders there, like a house in between two countries. You won't find that in Africa in most of the cases. You know why? Because somebody who doesn't have an understanding of the cultural and the history of the area will just put a pen on a map and be like, I draw this as the frontier. There are places where you meet in two different countries where, let's take an example, the border between Guinea and Ivory Coast. On one side, you will find a family divided between two countries. Yeah, one single family.
One single family.
And you, as the Guinean authority, you can't say that guy is not Guinean. How are you going to prove? He speaks that language. He comes to shop in that country. But he lives on the other side of the country. You, as the Ivorian authority, you will have issues trying to prove to me that guy is not Ivorian. So that makes actually difficult for us to enforce a border rule in our country. So and that problem was created in 1885. So integration can only happen if we have a free border, and because you cannot really control these borders.
No.
In terms of Africa, for example,
invisible borders.
Invisible. For example, I'm Mandinka. I'm a Mandinka person, and I can speak my language in 10 different countries in Africa without me needing to speak any other second language.
Cool.
That is, you will find somebody with my family name in another country, but he's not from my country. But we share the same ancestor, and we both know that. That's the funny thing about it. So colonization actually made African integration very difficult.
What got me, I had a classmate who was from Uganda, and he told me that the Luo people are in Uganda, and South Sudan, and in Kenya, and same ethnic group,
same ancestry,
same ancestry,
same language, culture,
same language, same everything in 3 separate countries.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. People need to understand, especially with miscegenation, with different groups of people that come together. You bring on a new hybrid, just a different group, not a different group, but a subgroup of something that was the original. Yeah. That's wonderful to enlighten, because a lot of people here in the U.S. don't have the slightest idea of what's happening in Africa.
100%. And I don't think that you need to take an ancestry test to actually go back to Africa to see what's going on there. I don't want this to sound like a promotion to Ghanaians,
but it is. Make it come to get,
because Ghana has actually made it easy for Black Americans to go back.
Yeah,
to go back to see the country, to see what's happening, to reconnect. We're not saying you're going back to stay. If you want to stay, you're welcome. Everywhere in Africa, you're welcome.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'll tell everybody going back, or everybody who wants to go back, is you should go back as an African or somebody who wants to understand Africa. But if you want to go back as an American in Africa, that's
Yeah.
When you go to any place, you have to integrate.
Yes.
You have to understand the culture. You have to understand the do's and don'ts. But you not want you. For example, when I went to Japan, I couldn't live like an African in Japan. I want Japanese people to become African all of a sudden. No, I had to understand the Japanese culture and the do's and don'ts of that culture and respect that culture while keeping my Africanness. So when you go back to Africa as a Black American, you can easily connect with Africa, because the first thing that gets thrown out of the way is you are not more a Black American.
Yeah.
We don't even know you Black American. Okay, you take a Black American, you take an African, you put them in a box, you shake it, shake. You tell them, pick me the African American out of this box. They can't.
Can't tell.
Unless the person speak and I hear the accent. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So the first thing that gets cleared off is your identity of Black American first. That gets gone.
Yes.
When I see Negus, what I see is an African.
Yes.
You know why I identify you quickly in that box? Because of the skin color.
Yes.
So, and then what happens next is I expect you to culturally understand me, but that we can learn from each other.
True.
It's not a dog and cat fight. We just need to understand each other, be open-minded to learn, to understand that we're different. Same thing goes for the Africans, to understand that there's a disconnection.
Yes.
That we can connect back. You understand? If a cable gets disconnected, you just pick up back cable, you
stick it back in.
there.
Yes.
It will take some time to fix itself, and yeah, that's how it should happen. So maybe more of cultural exchanges between the two sides, if that happens more often. But you don't need an ancestry test for that.
Man,
just go on the map and say, okay, this year, the same way people say I'm going to Mexico, I'm going to Guatemala, Haiti, all that are beautiful countries.
Yes.
Why don't you say this year I want to go to Ghana? Why don't you say I want to go to Guinea? I want to go to Senegal.
Yeah.
Why don't you say I want to go chop the Chebujan, or I want to go chop Lafidi in Conakry? You understand? You go on food exchanges. You do that 2-3 times, you start bringing your kids. You start to understand how those people function, and you'll be like, I like this place more than I like this place.
Yeah, one of my my academic heroes was a gentleman named W.E.B. Du Bois.
I think he died in Ghana, right?
Yeah, he died in Ghana. He was one of the founders of the NAACP, but he separated himself from the NAACP because of the culture and what they were doing. And he saw how the atrocities here in this nation. And he repatriated and moved to Ghana. And I remember reading in the story, when Du Bois got there, he was so happy to get home, to come to Africa, because I call it home, because that's
home.
my home my home.
Yeah,
even though I was born in America, Africa's still my home.
It will always be.
It can never change. Africa was born in me.
100%.
I was born in this country, but Africa was already in me.
That's true.
When I got here. Yeah. And what gets me is a lot of black people, like you state, black Americans, African Americans feel like they have to do a DNA test to find out. My wife got me into that, and I did it, and I got pissed off when I found out.
Because now you focus on just one country, and you're like, okay, because the nationality actually didn't exist by the time the first slaves left the continent.
Can I stop one thing?
Yeah.
They weren't slaves.
They
were captured, imprisoned Africans.
And then enslaved.
Yeah. They were incarcerated and forced into slavery.
Yes. When the first captives left on that boat of no return, there was nothing like Uganda. There was nothing like Guinea. There was nothing like Senegal. There was nothing like Congo.
Yeah.
So why do you have to almost 400 years want to just connect to one country? Why don't you just say, okay, I think the only people who I think should be given that green card of saying I'm from Africa, that is, they represent all the country, are the Black Americans. I think they're the only one who should be allowed to say, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm from Africa. Because you're from everywhere.
That's it.
Because you're a combination of all those countries. Because when those brothers, sisters came to this country, they didn't separate themselves based on country. They were like, we're going through the same struggle. We've got the same skin color.
Mm-hmm.
We are from the continent. We're from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then marriage happened.
Yes.
It wasn't like a marriage happened between a Gambian and a Senegalese. It was two black people getting married. So as you as the child, do you say I'm from Senegal? No. You're from the continent.
Yeah.
Just claim it.
But marriage here in this country here for Africans was quite different, because marriage they would sometimes, plantation owners would allow marriage.
Okay.
But yet with a marriage you still didn't have control of your family.
That's that.
Okay, because slave owner could sell your son or sell your wife to another place, and that's why here in America, in comparison to some of my brothers and sisters back home in the motherland, I talked to a gentleman earlier from Cameroon, and he told me he could go back at least 12 generations of his ancestry.
Yeah.
With myself or most African Americans, if they can quote 2 or 3 generations, they're doing something, because most of us here in this country were disconnected from that. So that's why a lot of blacks in America been talking about, I don't want to know where I'm from. Well, you're from West Africa if your ancestors came here on slave ships. But a lot of people don't understand that there was Africans that was here in America prior to it.
Yeah, and I actually read something about, we call him Bakri. He was a Mandinka king. He was the one who wanted power to Mansa Musa, the famous one.
Mm-hmm.
So Bakri was an explorer.
Yes.
And he tried to reach, he said, like, how sailors be.
Yeah.
I want to try a new horizon.
Yeah.
And King Bakri actually left the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And he sailed with a lot of ships and never came back. And I've read some historical stuff that say that maybe King Bakri landed in America. Mm-hmm. And from the historical stuff we're talking about, this is many, let's say centuries before Columbus or any person tried that. So, and when Columbus came,
mm-hmm.
the people he met here didn't call themselves Indians.
Not at all.
So what were they?
The Arawak. They were the Arawak people of the island of, they called it Hispaniola. Okay. And as a matter of fact,
because
100 years before Columbus got here, there was a gentleman named Abu Bakr II.
Yeah, it's the one we call him Bakri.
Abu Bakr
II. Yeah.
1311.
Yeah.
AD. He did make it here, because it's recorded that he did.
Because he never went back. No. Because when he left, he handed over the title of Mansa and everything to his cousin.
Okay.
Who became the
wealthiest person on this planet.
Yes. So Bakri was not just a guy who was contented with sitting in a palace and making judgments and being just the king of the Mandinka people of the big Malian empire.
Mm-hmm.
So he went on that adventure. And from historical, how people do anthropology and history, Bakri had a great chance of landing in this place.
Mm-hmm.
And if Columbus had come and met some people here, there's a high possibility that it was Bakri's team, Abu Bakr II. So I do believe that. I believe it. I'm not saying it's a universal truth, but I believe it.
Well, it's documented.
Yeah,
it's documented. And as a matter of fact, here in the state of Iowa, in a town called Montrose, Iowa, there's a museum there for a Phoenician ship, and a Phoenician ship wreckage that they found on the Mississippi River. So the Phoenicians were basically Israel, Palestine, North Africa, and had traveled maybe around 300 BC, because they have the wreckage of a ship here in Iowa that's that old.
Yeah, that means
Okay, so people been here for a long time.
Yeah.
Even the founder of the city of Chicago, Jean-Baptiste du Sabon, he was the father and founder of the city of Chicago, and he was an African man. And most people in the city of Chicago don't even know that.
Yeah. You know, the problem with history is that if it's not amplified, if it doesn't suit a certain narrative, it's not told.
Oh man,
that's history for you.
Yeah,
that's the problem. I tell people, if you're confused about something, just read. Read, do your own research. Okay, let's Dr. Negus talk. Forget about what Dr. Negus say. Go do your own library. Go to the library, read, and then come look Dr. Negus in the face. You said this. I don't agree with you. Argue. That's an intellectual conversation.
Yes.
At the end, you will make Dr. Negus to be like, okay, maybe I should do more research for you to understand that what I'm saying, it could be true. That way you guys keep on providing intellectual advancement.
Yes.
About a topic. That's how to grow.
That's wonderful, man. Man, I'm so elated that I had the opportunity to sit here and talk with you and to meet you.
It's an honor for me.
Man, it's an honor for me as well. It's an honor for me as well. Would you like to elaborate on anything else right now, if you like? About your time here, what did you, what do you really think you're going to take away and that you're going to take back home?
What I really want to take back home is the understanding that consistency is the way to build anything. Consistency. Not in everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
And everything has been planned. That's my philosophy. We are just supposed to play our role consistently to achieve a goal. Take you down an historical plane. Sometimes I see some people thinking that their ancestors didn't do something. Your ancestors had to fight slavery to give you all the privileges you have today. They've done their part. And they've been consistent in doing that part, from fighting slavery to Harriet Tubman and to Malcolm X to Martin Luther King to the Black Panther movement till where we are today.
Yes.
It's been a consistent flow for the fight for freedom. So back home, let me tell you, because our stories are close but are different because we lived in a different scenario. My ancestors had to fight colonialization, condescending thoughts, to being treated as inferior people who couldn't lead themselves, to getting that independence, to put in the first infrastructure up to where we are. They've been consistent in making sure that every generation improves on one thing. So what are our generation going to improve on? So that the next generation could lay back and say, we don't have to struggle for this anymore.
Yes.
And we continue. That's been consistent. You go to India, you go to anywhere in the world, even in America, even in white America, they had to be consistent to achieve whatever they've been able to achieve. Our stories might be different. We might not agree with each other and stuff. But we have to remember the ultimate goal and remain consistent in the achievement of that goal. That's very important.
I concur 100% with you, brother. So I know I'm an elder now,
sir.
And I know I'm standing on the shoulders of other giants
Before you.
and before me. And now the baton has been handed to me, and I'm ready to hand it off to
The next generation.
But the next generation needs to know exactly who they are. And if you don't know who you are or where you come from, you don't know where you're going.
100%. 100%. Because if you do not identify the place you are, there's an African proverb that says that if you find the same tree in the forest 2 times, you lost. So that's like once you like, I think I saw this tree before, bro. You lost.
You are the same tree.
Like if you find the same baobab tree, because it's the baobab tree.
Yeah, the big one.
The big one. If you find it 2 times,
yeah,
in the forest, and you can recognize you've seen this tree before, bro, you lost. We need to find you. So that means that we need to. We have not everybody's a lost generation. We have people that are already lost and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we could find our people. We could teach them. We could educate them. We need to identify ways. You as our elders, you've done your part, but you have a lot to share before you pass on that baton to us, before you hand us that mandate. Because in Africa, the elders. When an elder dies, it's a library.
Yeah,
that goes with it.
Yeah.
We need to stop that. We need people like you to write.
Yes.
At one point in time, oral history was not accepted in academia, right?
Correct. Fact.
Because a certain group of people told their story orally, and some wrote.
Yes.
You know why in Africa the word of the mouth is sacred?
Yes.
We sign contracts with our mouths. Because we expect people to be genuine, to be honest with their words. They write because they don't trust each other's words.
That's true.
So
that's true.
But now we've gotten with technology, recording systems and everything. You can record.
Mm-hmm.
Record your story. Record the stories of people you've seen. For example, Dr. Negus could be only 65 upwards.
You're rushing me. I'm 60. I'll be 63. So
you don't want to grow old. I see that.
No, I'm growing old, but I don't want to rush it.
But he's a young old man. So for example, when you were 65, you were actually 165. You know why I say that?
Why you say that?
Because you've met somebody who saw 80 years before you or 100 years before you. True.
And
that, like, for example, if you grow up with somebody in your house, like let's say you met your grandparents, and they were 80 when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, your grandparent also saw people that were 80 years before them and know the issue of that. So at the end of the day, you have an accumulation of the knowledge by interacting with the elders.
Yes.
So your grandkids interacting with you have the ability to see 150 years of history through you. You might have not lived 150 years, but you can relate to people who have told you the stories of how 150 years before you looked like.
Yes.
That's why history gets lost after 3 generations.
True.
If the 3 generations does not effectively record, transfer, and educate, we forget it.
Yes.
Colonization only took less than 100 years in Africa. Now everybody's speaking French, English, and behaving like the Englishman and French. So how many generations is 100 years?
Man.
It doesn't look like a lot, but you go to Africa, people calling themselves francophone.
Yes.
Well, they're not francophone, really.
No.
They are Mandika phone, Susu phone, Fula phone, because that's the language they actually speak outside the administrative sector. You go to my house, my parents don't speak English or French to me. And in my community, nobody speaks French. Like, after war, we all speak in our local language. So, are we really francophone?
No. Because that's different from the social structure and the governance structure.
100%.
100%. Because how we communicate with each other and how we care about each other and what we think about each other is more important to me than what others think of.
100%.
Yeah, man. Man, I'm just elated, man, to have a big brother like you, young brother, man. Look like you need to be playing on the American football team somewhere. He'd be a good linebacker. He is big Mr. Nabe. Man, I'm just all my whole time here with you. I wish I had more time to spend with you, but I know that the university had a lot of things for y'all scheduled, but yet the time that I had with you, and also some of the connections we're getting together. Yeah. I'll just hope and pray that it'll be instrumental in the success of what what you have to do back home.
100%. And it's been a privilege for myself to discuss and have multiple conversations with you.
Man.
And I believe that that's how bonds and relationships are created.
Yes.
We all you know about the 6 lines of separation, right?
Yes.
So we all connected.
Yes, we are.
Because now I know 6 people through you now, and those 6 people also
know 6
other people. So
yes,
that's an exponential expansion we have in there.
Absolutely.
So
see how math works?
Yeah, that's how it is. So I'm privileged to have
man.
met you.
Hey, likewise, man. I'm enjoying this, man. I'm thankful for Mr. Nabe and the connection that we have created, and I plan to continue to correspond with you as long as I'm sucking air. No joke, man. I want to see great things. I know great things are coming from you.
100%.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, man, this is our episode here with Mr. Amadu Ali Nabe from Guinea, my young homeboy, my brother. He's not a boy. My young man. He's a brother that's a mover and a shaker, and he's doing things in Senegal and back home as Guinea as well. So it's wonderful to have the opportunity to talk with you. I pray that the Almighty Creators of the universe give you traveling mercy when you go back or travel through this country, as well as when you go back home. And we're praying for great success for you, and we're going to stay connected, man.
Yeah, we will. Thank you very much.
Well, this is a conclusion of one of our episodes of Babylon Makes the Rules, a conversation with Mr. Amadu Ali Nabe, excuse me. That's that English tongue that's all twisted up. You see, that's that. I'm not Anglophone. I'm an Anglophone that speaks Ebonics. This is Babylon Makes the Rules. Everybody, y'all have a great weekend. Enough respect.